The survival course coordinator, Krell 9, had been running these programs for 17 cycles. 17 cycles of watching species from across the galaxy struggle, adapt, and occasionally triumph over the brutal conditions of Tharos Prime. He thought he had seen everything, then the human showed up. Her name was Myra Vex. No, wait. That was wrong. Myra was the instructor's assistant. The human's name was Jade Reeves, and she walked into the prep hangar with the kind of swagger that made Krell's secondary eyelids twitch involuntarily. Welcome, Participant Reeves, Krell announced, his voice modulator crackling slightly. You are about to undertake the most challenging survival certification in this sector. The wilderness of Tharos Prime has humbled warriors, broken scholars, and defeated champions. Your survival kit contains 47 essential items, each carefully selected to give you a fighting chance against the elements, the predators, and the terrain itself. Jade looked at the metallic case on the table. She looked at Krell. She looked back at the case. Cool, she said. Can I just take the knife? The room went silent. Even the environmental systems seemed to pause mid-hum. Krell's mandibles clicked together 3 times, the Vrelnian equivalent of a confused stammer. Excuse me. The knife? That's in there, right? One of the 47 things. Jade tapped the case with her knuckle. I'll just take that. The rest seems like overkill. From the observation deck above, Instructor Yalit 7 leaned forward, her tentacles coiling with interest. Did that human just say what I think she said? Her colleague, a bulky Crothian named Dunn, made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. She did. This is going to be entertaining. Back in the hangar, Krell was attempting to maintain his professional composure. Ms. Reeves, perhaps you don't understand the severity of this course. The temperature drops to -40 at night. There are carnivorous flora that can digest a full-grown heptarian in 6 hours. The terrain includes cliffs, swamps, and radiation zones. The kit contains water purification tablets, emergency shelter, thermal blankets, signal flares, medical supplies. Yeah, I read the brochure. Jade waved her hand dismissively. Look, no offense to your fancy gadgets, but I grew up in the Australian outback. My dad once survived 3 weeks in the bush with nothing but a broken compass and sheer stubbornness. I think I can handle a week with a knife. Krell's skin shifted to a pale blue, which in Vrelnian body language translated roughly to I cannot believe what I am hearing. The Australian Outback. What manner of death world training ground is this? Oh, it's Earth. Just regular Earth. Jade shrugged. We've got spiders the size of dinner plates, snakes that can kill you in 15 minutes, jellyfish that make you wish you were dead, and heat that literally melts roads. Plus, drop bears. Drop bears. Yalit whispered from above. Computer, search database for Earth creature, drop bears. No results found, the system responded. Probably classified as a weapon, Dunn muttered. Krell tried one more time. Ms. Reeves, I must insist that you take the full kit. Regulations require. Do the regulations require me to carry all 47 items? Jade interrupted. Or do they just require you to offer them? The coordinator's skin flickered through several colors. They require me to offer them. Perfect. Jade unlatched the case, rummaged through the neatly organized contents, and pulled out a fixed-blade knife with a 6-inch blade. Got it. When do I start? You start at dawn. The dropship will take you to Zone 7, which is considered the most challenging starting point. Krell's voice had taken on a slightly desperate quality. Please, at least take the water purification tablets. Nah, I'm good. The emergency shelter. I'll build one. The medical kit. Surely you'll take the medical kit. Jade paused, seeming to consider this. For a moment, Krell felt a surge of hope. Does it have painkillers? She asked. Yes, broad-spectrum analgesics that work on 73% of known species, then no. Pain lets you know you're still alive. She grinned. Besides, I'm only half joking about that attitude thing. Confidence is half the battle. What's the other half? Krell asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Spite. Mostly spite. The next morning, as dawn broke over Tharos Prime's jagged horizon, Jade stood at the dropship's open door. Below her stretched an endless expanse of hostile wilderness. Purple vegetation dotted the landscape, interspersed with rocky outcrops and steaming vents. In the distance, something large and toothy bellowed. Last chance to grab the kit, the pilot, a nervous planarian named Vex, said. Nobody will judge you. Well, they will, but who cares? I'm good, Jade said, checking the knife's edge with her thumb. Just make sure you're here in 7 days. If you're still alive, Vex muttered. I'll be alive. Probably. Jade flashed a grin. See you soon. She jumped. I in the observation center, 12 instructors and course monitors watched her descent with a mixture of horror and fascination. The betting pool had already started. "I give her 2 days," said a Helixian observer. "1," counted another. "She didn't even take the water purification tablets." "I don't know," Yalit murmured, her tentacles waving thoughtfully. "There's something about her. Did you see her eyes? She wasn't scared. Not even a little." "Humans are known to be reckless," Dunn said. "Perhaps she simply doesn't understand fear properly." Or, Yalit suggested, perhaps she understands it very well and just doesn't care. On the ground, Jade hit the forest floor with a practiced roll, coming up in a crouch. She took a moment to survey her surroundings. The air was thick and humid, smelling of sulfur and something organic she couldn't quite identify. Good. Moisture meant water sources. The purple trees above her had broad leaves that collected morning dew. Even better, something rustled in the undergrowth. Jade turned slowly, knife held loosely in her right hand. A creature emerged, roughly the size of a large dog, but with 6 legs and far too many teeth. It had the look of something that had never encountered anything it couldn't eat. "Hello there, gorgeous," Jade said softly. "You're probably thinking I look tasty. I'm thinking you look like dinner." The creature paused, its multiple eyes blinking in sequence. "Yeah, I know. Crazy human, right?" She took a step forward. "But here's the thing about humans, buddy. We're persistence predators. We don't give up. We don't back down. And we're way too stubborn to know when we're beaten." The creature growled, a sound like grinding stone. Jade smiled. "Your move." Back in the observation center, alarms suddenly blared. Cardiac readings are elevated, a technician called out. Subject has encountered a Tharok stalker. Those things are apex predators. Krell shot to his feet. "Activate emergency extraction protocols." "Wait," Yalit said, her voice sharp. "Look." On the screen, something impossible was happening. The Tharok stalker was backing away. "What?" Krell's voice failed him, the human hadn't moved. She just stood there, knife in hand, staring at the predator with an expression that could only be described as mildly interested. And the stalker, a creature that had killed 3 previous course participants, was retreating. "Computer," Yalit said quietly. "Analyze the human's biometric data." Analyzing. Heart rate, 120 beats per minute. Elevated but controlled. Stress hormones, present but not spiking. Threat assessment, confident. Recommendation, subject believes she can win this encounter. She thinks she can kill it, Dunn breathed. With just a knife. "Can she?" someone asked. Nobody answered. They were all watching. On the ground, Jade watched the stalker disappear into the underbrush. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "That's what I thought," she muttered. "Ambush predator. You only attack prey you think is weaker. Well, guess what? I'm not prey." She turned and started walking, knife still in hand, toward what looked like higher ground. The first rule of survival was always the same, regardless of the planet. Find water, find shelter, find food. In that order, day 1 had barely begun, and Jade Reeves was just getting started. Above, in the observation center, the betting pool was being hastily recalculated. "I'm changing my bet," the Helixian observer announced. "She's going to finish the course." "Finish it." Krell turned to him. "She has 1 knife." "Yes," Yalit said slowly, her tentacles curling with something that might have been respect or might have been dread. "But she's human. I'm starting to think that might be enough." Day 3 hit Tharok's prime like a hammer, and the observation center was in absolute chaos. She did what? Krell's skin had turned a violent shade of orange, which meant he was either furious or having a medical emergency. Possibly both. The technician, a young Vrenthian named Plix, rewound the footage with trembling appendages. She weaponized the Crimson Tanglers, sir." Everyone crowded around the monitor. Sure enough, there was Jade Reeves, casually walking through a patch of the galaxy's most notorious carnivorous plants, like she was strolling through a garden center. The Tanglers, which should have been wrapping her in digestive tendrils, were instead attacking everything else in the vicinity. "How?" Dunn asked, his massive frame leaning so close to the screen his breath fogged it up. "Those plants have a sensory range of 30 meters. Nothing gets through them." "Apparently humans do," Yalit said, rewinding to an earlier timestamp. "Look. Day 2, hour 14. She spent 6 hours studying their behavior patterns. Then she covered herself in the sap from those blue reed plants by the stream. The whistling reeds." Krell's voice went up an octave. "Those are mildly toxic." "To us," Yalit corrected. "Her biometrics show minor skin irritation, nothing more. The reed sap apparently mimics the chemical signature of Tangler roots." The plants think she's one of them. On screen, Jade waved cheerfully at a tangler as it strangled a spiked ravager that had been stalking her. Thanks for the assist, buddy, she called out. You guys are way better than guard dogs. This is unprecedented, Plix whispered. In 3 days, she has turned one of the most hostile ecosystems in the sector into her personal defense system. What about food and water? Someone asked. She refused the purification tablets. Krell pulled up the relevant footage. His skin went pale grey. She's boiling water in sections of bamboo-like stalks heated over thermal vents. And as for food. He paused, making a choking sound. She ate a marsh hopper. Raw? Dunn sounded impressed despite himself. Cooked. She made a fire using friction and dried moss. Then she gutted the hopper with her knife, removed the poison sacs, which somehow she knew were poisonous just by looking at them, and roasted the meat. Krell looked like he might faint. She's thriving. After 3 days with nothing but a knife, she is actually thriving. The betting pool had exploded. Currency from 17 different worlds was now riding on every aspect of Jade's performance. Would she complete the course? Obviously, yes. The real bets now were about how spectacularly she would do it. On the ground, Jade was having the time of her life. Okay, so cliff number 3, she said to herself, a habit she had developed for staying focused. The geothermal activity here suggests there should be caves somewhere nearby. Caves mean shelter from that electrical storm I saw rolling in. She had learned quickly that Tharos Prime had weather patterns that made Earth hurricanes look like gentle breezes. 2 nights ago, she had watched lightning literally vaporize a tree from orbit. Since then, she had made sure to always have a backup shelter plan. The knife had proven more useful than she had imagined. Not just for cutting and skinning, but for digging, prying, even as a makeshift hammer when she needed to drive stakes. Her dad had been right. Give a human a good blade and enough attitude, and they could conquer anything. Well, almost anything, she muttered, staring at the cliff face. The observation monitors had shown caves about 60 meters up. Climbing wasn't the problem. The problem was the nest of what looked like flying serpents halfway up. All right, Jade, think, she said. They're territorial, which means they'll attack anything that gets close. But they are also reptilian, which means thermoregulation is going to be important. So during the hottest part of the day, she glanced at the twin suns overhead. Another hour, maybe 2, and the heat would peak. The serpents would become sluggish, seeking shade deeper in their caves. Perfect time for a friendly visit, she decided. I and the observation center, alarms started blaring again. She's climbing toward the shriek serpent nest. Plix shouted. Should we extract? No, Yalit said firmly. Watch. Jade moved with surprising grace for a species that evolved on a heavy gravity world. Her fingers found holds that shouldn't exist, her feet balancing on ledges barely wider than her toes. She paused every few meters, listening, watching, calculating. The serpents were exactly where she expected them to be. Coiled in the shade, their metabolism slowed by the heat, barely aware of the strange creature slipping past their nest. Sorry for the intrusion, folks, Jade whispered. Just passing through. Nothing to see here. She reached the cave entrance and slipped inside. Cool air washed over her, a blessed relief from the brutal heat. The cave went deep, probably connected to the underground river system she had been tracking. Even better. Jackpot, she breathed, seeing the mineral deposits on the walls. Some of them glowed faintly, bioluminescent bacteria that would provide light without fire. Others looked like salt crystals, essential for electrolyte balance. And there, in the back, exactly what she had been hoping for. Away down, the cave system connected to lower levels, which meant access to water, to cooler temperatures, and to a completely different ecosystem she could exploit. Day 5 arrived with a spectacular sunrise that Jade barely noticed. She was too busy constructing what Krell was describing as an affront to nature and common sense. She built a house, the coordinator said, his voice hollow. She has been here for 5 days, and she built a functional dwelling. It wasn't a house by most species standards, but it was undeniably sophisticated. Jade had woven together reeds, branches, and some kind of resinous plant material to create a watertight shelter. She had dug a drainage trench around it to prevent flooding. She even had a raised sleeping platform to stay off the ground and away from the smaller predators. The structural integrity is remarkable, a Vrenthian engineer observed. Those joints she's made by notching the branches and binding them with plant fibers. That technique requires an understanding of load distribution and tension. She learned it from watching primitive human survival videos, Yalit said, having accessed Jade's personal database with her permission. Apparently on Earth, this is considered recreational knowledge. Recreational? Dunn rumbled. They learn advanced survival techniques for fun. They call it camping, Yalit confirmed, the observation center fell silent as everyone processed this information. Jade, meanwhile, was dealing with a more immediate problem. The electrical storm she had predicted was rolling in early, and it was going to be a big one. Okay, shelters ready, water stored, food secured, she muttered, checking her mental list. Fires out, because lightning plus dry material equals bad time. Knife secured because I'm not losing you, my friend. All I have to do is wait it out. The storm hit like the universe's angriest toddler throwing a tantrum. Lightning turned the sky purple, thunder shook the ground, and rain came down in sheets, so thick Jade could barely see 3 meters in front of her. The wind howled like something alive and angry, but her shelter held. Jade sat cross-legged on her raised platform, listening to the chaos outside, and smiled. Dad, if you could see me now. Your crazy survival lessons actually worked. Day 7 dawned clear and bright, as if the planet was apologizing for the previous night's violence. Jade emerged from her shelter, stretched, and looked toward the extraction point she had been steadily working toward. Well, she said. I guess this is it. End of the line. She had walked, climbed, swum, and occasionally ran her way across 70 kilometers of hostile terrain. She had outsmarted predators, befriended plants, and turned one of the deadliest environments in the sector into her personal playground, all with a knife and an attitude that refused to accept the word impossible. The dropship appeared right on schedule, descending through the morning mist like a metallic bird. The door opened, and there was Vex, staring at her with all 4 eyes wide. You're alive, the pilot said, as if saying it out loud might make it less true. Told you I would be. Jade climbed aboard, still holding her knife. Probably. At the landing pad, Krell waited with the full observation team. As Jade stepped off the dropship, they all just stared. She was filthy, her clothes were shredded in places, and she had what looked like claw marks on her left arm. But she was grinning like she had just won the lottery. So, she said casually. Do I pass? Krell's skin cycled through about 15 different colors, before settling on a resigned purple. Ms. Reeves, in 17 cycles of running this course, I have never seen anything like what you just accomplished. You took one item from a 47-piece survival kit, and not only survived but thrived in conditions that have defeated trained soldiers, experienced explorers, and professional survivalists from dozens of species. Cool, Jade said. So that's a pass. That's a pass with highest honors, Yalit interjected, her tentacles waving in what Jade had learned was excitement. The assessment committee wants to study your techniques. 3 universities have already requested permission to include your course footage in their xenobiology programs. And the Galactic Survival Guild has extended an invitation for you to join their Master Instructor program. Jade blinked. Huh. All that from just refusing to be scared of some plants and animals. It wasn't just that, Dunn said quietly. You adapted. You learned. You respected the environment without fearing it. That's the mark of a true survivor. Well, Jade shrugged, when you grow up on a planet that's actively trying to kill you from birth, you learn to take challenges personally. And I really hate losing. Krell made a sound that might have been laughter or might have been crying. Humans. Of course humans would look at a Death World survival course and treat it like a mild inconvenience. Death World. Jade looked confused. This was actually pretty nice. No venomous spiders, the big predators were easy to read, and the weather was predictable once you understood the patterns. I'd rate it maybe 7 out of 10 on the difficulty scale. 7 out of 10. Plick squeaked. What would be a 10? Australian summer, Jade said immediately. With drop bears. Nobody asked what drop bears were. They had learned that some questions about Earth were better left unanswered. As Jade walked toward decontamination, still carrying her knife, Yalit turned to Krell. So, what did we learn? The coordinator's skin shifted to a thoughtful green. That humans are terrifying, that Earth is apparently a nightmare planet we should never visit, and that sometimes the most advanced survival tool isn't in a kit. What is it then? Krell watched Jade disappear around the corner, laughing at something Vex had said. Apparently, it's spite and a really good attitude. The betting pool paid out, fortunes changed hands, and somewhere in the Galactic Survival Guild headquarters, someone updated the course difficulty ratings. Tharos Prime remained classified as extreme difficulty for most species. For humans, they added a note that simply read, may find this relaxing. Recommend challenging them further if desired results include actual struggle. Jade Reeves became a legend that day, and her response when told about her newfound fame was perfectly on brand. Neat, she said. So when's the next course? I'm thinking I should try it with just my hands next time. Really make it interesting. Krell fainted, nobody blamed him.